predictions, projections, prognostications, and more coming up.
Yes, some of these are going to make you happy. Some of these are going to make you scratch your head, and some of these are going to make you upset. So let's get started right now.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. Be sure you check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays. We're also on all the other traditional podcasting platforms. And you can check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays. Also, if you want to email us, lockedonrays@gmail.com. Well, it is here. Opening day, opening weekend, opening series for the Tampa Bay Rays and the rest of baseball. We're going to dive into the nitty-gritty and give our predictions for the Rays in regards to what their record is going to be, who's the team MVP going to be, who's going to be the biggest surprise and the biggest disappointment. But before we get to that, let's discuss the opening series, 3-game series versus the Tigers, which is very, very weird for the Rays because they play on Thursday, then they don't play Friday, and then, of course, they battle on Saturday and Sunday. To me, I don't know why they just don't play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Trop. Have your home opener on a Friday at 3:10 p.m. instead of a Thursday at 3:10 p.m. I don't know if they're trying to sabotage attendance this early on, but to me, that seems
And even worse, I think it was either Mark Topkin or Romano who said it doesn't make sense because they're doing the whole, hey, let's celebrate the 25th anniversary of the franchise and all that. If you wanted to be really specific on when Wilson Alvarez threw that pitch to start this whole Devil Rays / Rays franchise, it would have been on Friday. So why are you playing it on Thursday in this whole season where you're commemorating the 25th anniversary? So it must have been like a mandate from MLB. Like, we need to have these regions playing on Thursday and these other ones on Friday. I don't know. It really doesn't make sense to have that done. But oh well, I guess the boys are gonna have a good Friday evening or a good Friday off day. So I hope they enjoy it.
Yeah. Are you going to any of the games over the course of this opening series?
I have no plans to do so, but maybe I do get my butt over there and go share some blue seat love at the Tropicana field.
It's funny because the Tigers, and we'll get into them a little bit, but it's pretty convenient for them because they're wrapping up spring training, and from my understanding, all they have to do is travel from Lakeland, their spring training site, to St. Pete. That's not too shabby of a opening day series to really kick it off, as opposed to having to fly to the West Coast or fly somewhere to the Midwest or the Northeast somewhere. I mean, you're pretty much right next door. Not to say that there's going to be a huge, although in my experience, there is a decent number of Tigers fans that do travel to the Trop just because I guess the Tigers have been so entrenched in spring training baseball, and because, I mean, snowbirds and the amount of Michiganders who live in Florida and so forth. But
Michiganders. I think that might be the first time I hear the word Michiganders in my 20 years living in this country. So,
yeah, I think that's what they call it.
No, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just like, that's the first time I've heard it. So it sounds fancy, Michiganders.
Yeah. There's a lot worse things I could say about people from Michigan, but I'll just leave it at that. But so the Tigers, look, they're not going to be a good team this year, but I don't know if they're going to be as bad as what the projection suggests. I know the Locked On Podcast Network, their grading, they have them, finishing 28th in all of baseball, just ahead of the Athletics and the Nationals, and Pacoda projects them to go 66 and 97. I mean, I would at least, throw them 7 bones, 70 wins. I don't know how much more than that. I don't know. What do you think? What do you say on this matter?
I think it's going to be if they hit the 7 dubs, I think it's a success. I think you're
Yeah.
just I think you're just avoiding being a 68, 69 win team if you're the Tigers. If you can get that to the 7, then I think you should feel good about the season, but I just
Look, they don't have a lot of depth, I'll say that, and they need
don't
big
see
years
it.
from, their young pitching staff and young players like Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson, but I would be curious to see what a full, healthy Austin Meadows can do if Miguel Cabrera can have a final season like Albert Pujols had something of that ilk or that comparison. I mean, I'm not saying they're a good team. I'm just saying I really totally messed up on the Tigers because I was convinced after them going 77 and 85 in 2021 and finishing third in the Central that, okay, they're moving on up. They're moving somewhere in the league. And then they went backwards going 66 and 96 in 2022 and finishing fourth in the Central. So I would almost, I don't know about split the difference, but I think they could find 7 Bills in them, assuming they're able to stay healthy and everything. But you know what? It's funny because I would think you would want to go to a game like this because of your love and appreciation for Miggy. I feel like just for that reason alone, I don't know if the Tigers have another trip to the Trop.
And you know what? I actually, as soon as I said no, that thought came to my head. Like, this would be the last time I would get to see Miggy at the Trop. So maybe I do go to a game this weekend and see my boy. I already saw him in West Palm and in Port St. Lucie when he was with the Venezuelan team, and that was awesome. He was so cool, man. Dude, he took so much time during BP just talking to the kids and like signing stuff for like 20 minutes. It was awesome. He was so cool. And by just another anecdote about the Tigers, and you're saying that they have a lot of fans. One of the most sellout games I've ever been to that's not playoff was when the Tigers played in 2012 at the Trop. And of course, if you're a baseball fan, you know 2012 Tigers, that's Miggy's Triple Crown and his first MVP. It was insane, Kevin. It was insane what the Trop looked like. It was so crazy. Like everything that Miggy did, there were tons of flashes going on. Like it was every swing, every pitch. There was like a sucking of gasp of air in at the Trop. It was so cool. It was such an intense moment as a fan to live through that. So yeah, you're definitely right. There are a bunch of Michiganders that live around the Tampa Bay area.
And no disrespect to Miggy Cabrera because future Hall of Famer, absolutely tremendous career. And as David Sampson once said, he's like the only player that could go out on a bender the night before, show up to the ballpark in the same clothes, smelling of tequila, and go 3 for 4. Like that's the type of player and athlete that he is. But you would think that the Tigers getting out and underneath that bad contract, they might have some more flexibility and workability. Although the Tigers seem to like Tigers and bad contracts seem to be synonymous. I mean, look at Javi Baez. You could argue that Eduardo Rodriguez was an overpay as well. Like, what's the next one that's going to come down the pipeline? I mean, Javier Baez is just downright. That contract was that's a total albatross there. So it remains and waits to be seen. But I'll certainly be looking forward to watching Miggy and, of course, Austin Meadows and seeing what he can do after all the trials and tribulations that he dealt with last season. And, you know, maybe this could be a nice Isaac Paredes moment where, you know, he shows up his former team there. So there is that, a little discussion on the Tigers. Now we'll get more in depth on the Rays. But first, we have to tell you about something very important. The tournament is heating up, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel. It is America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet for up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and sign up today to claim your no sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the net. FanDuel, it's an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at a no sweat first bet for up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to fanduel.com/lockedon. That's LOCKEDON to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. All right, Ulises, let's get right into it. Let's not waste any time here. The Rays, 2023. Where do they finish in the division, and what will their record be?
I think they have a shot at winning the division with all the injuries that the Yankees seem to be suffering right now in their rotation and with their player position players. The Jays, like I said on that episode last week, you've got to do something before I crown you king, and they've done nothing. They've done nothing. I know people are like, oh, well, they went to the playoffs twice. Well, they got swept twice. One by the Rays in 2020 and once by the Mariners in last year at their home ballpark. So I think they have a shot. I think they do have a shot of winning the division. The Rays do. They went 86 wins with an injured team, with their best of the best injured. Now you've added a better pitching staff, hopefully more health on the position players, and they're going to evolve. I think this should be a 93-94 win team by the time this season ends. If everything goes well, 93-94 wins.
So who wins the division then? The Rays?
I'm going Rays, yeah.
Okay.
I'm going Rays.
I will say that the Rays finished second in the division behind the Toronto Blue Jays. What concerns me a little bit is the health factor, still the youth factor, and the travel factor as well. But I do think they win more games than last year. I'm going to say 89-73 thereabouts. And who knows, maybe they split the difference between what you're projecting and what I'm projecting.
Sure.
Team MVP for the Rays.
Do you know how old Ronald Acuna was when he had his massive almost 40-40 season, Kevin?
Probably 22 or 23.
21. He was 21.
Okay.
Do you know how old was Juan Soto when he was runner-up in the MVP race?
I'm going to say 21.
He was 22. Gotcha.
Okay.
How old was Vladdy when he was runner-up in the MVP race?
21.
22. How old was Tatis Jr. when he was third in the MVP race?
I'm going to say 21 or 22.
22. You're right.
Yeah.
How old is Wander Franco?
I would say he's 21 or 22. I don't have his birth date in front of me, but I would say 21.
He is 22. He just got his birthday on March 1st. I'm putting it out in the ether. This is the year for Wander Franco to really break out, to just be the guy, to be the team MVP. This is the guy you put $183 million on his name. All of those guys, Acuna, Vladdy, Tatis, Juan Soto, they all are the next level comp of what you hope Wander Franco to be. They all did it at 22. They all have the amount of talent that Wander Franco has. Maybe the power. Okay, we can argue power, that they all have more power than Wander, and you would be correct. But everything else, the talent is that Wander has is unreal. So I'm putting it out in the world. Wander Franco is going to have a massive season, and he will be the team MVP.
I like that you brought that up. Great minds think alike. I also have Wander as the team MVP. I'll go a couple steps further or similar in your vein, and I say that he will absolutely bat over 300. He'll finish top 10 in the AL MVP voting. He'll get his first All-Star appearance, and he'll compile a WAR greater than 5+ WAR for the 2023 season. And let's hope to God he plays at least 145, 150 games. That would be beautiful. That would be much needed for this franchise. And let me say this, I'm glad you brought up Vlad Guerrero, because if you listen to the AL East preview roundtable show, the new Blue Jays host was kind of down on Vladdy. He had some not so nice things to say. I get, I guess technically it was a a regression from that 2021 season, but let's catch the guy a break. I mean, he was like ready to release him, DFA him. I mean, I was like, if you want to trade him to us, you want to trade him to the Rays, that's perfectly fine. But he still had an unbelievable season. I mean, not many guys can hit 32 dingers and hit 274 and have a 4 WAR at 23 years old. So I'd maybe cool the brakes a little bit. Not every season can be replicated like that 2021 campaign was. If I had to guess, again, you could probably split the difference in 2023 for Vladdy between the 21 and 22 seasons. So I'll just throw that out there. All right. Biggest surprise for the Rays in 2020?
I have one on the pitching side, and I have one on the hitting side. On the pitching side, I got to go Garrett Clevenger. I've said this before, and I'll say it again until people, tell me, we see it. He's Jake McGee 2.0. I mean, this guy has all the makings of making Cash's job so damn easy. Like, if you have a starter that gives you 5 or 6 as Springs, Rasmussen gives you a nice 6 innings and 2 earned runs allowed, give the ball to Clevenger, then you give it to Adam, and then you give it to Fairbanks, like 7, 8, 9. I mean, you're talking a triumvirate of just horses in that stable. So I think he is going to be elevated into that territory of just unstoppable arm in the bullpen.
Very good. Okay, what about the position player?
I got to go with our boy, 2-time guest star on the show, Curtis Mead. I think he's ready to make a big splash. Although I will stick by this, and I know people on Twitter are like going crazy, saying that, whatever. The point is,
when aren't they going crazy? When are people on Twitter, anti-social media, particularly Twitter over Instagram, I would say, that people are just losing their minds?
Spring training stats do not matter. They are irrelevant. Great if somebody's doing awesome.
Are people talking about Tristan Gray? Is that what it is?
So many other people, so many other players. Like, no, but not even Rays fans, like from other fan bases as well. I'm like, the guy could be facing a dude from A-level. Like, stop. Reed Brignac had 4 home runs in one spring training. How did he turn out in that year? Like, spring training stats do not matter. So having said that, Curtis Mead had a healthy 837 OPS in 22 at bats. So again, I believe in this guy. I think he's the real deal. The extension talks definitely are exciting as a fan to hear that they're trying to lock him up.
Yes,
I'm going Curtis Mead as the biggest surprise on the hitting side.
I like that. I actually just had one player for the biggest surprise, and I'm not going to waver from what I said on the AL East Roundtable show. Jose Siri. I'm really expecting more of a punch from him this season. I mean, there's something to be said for Kevin Cash going down to the Dominican Republic to flat out really just go down there to check in on Siri and say, hey, now that Kevin Kiermaier's gone, the job is yours. You're center fielder of the present and maybe the future. So I think just that confidence and positivity towards him could really allow him to thrive. I think the Rays did something with similar with Austin Meadows in his rookie season. And I think that I would like to see what Jose Siri can put together with a full season under his belt, where he's playing game in, game out, and gets the reps, as opposed to some playing time here, some playing time there. He's also, I think, kind of folding into the prime of what most players' prime would be or should be at 27, but just the tools and the energy and the spark that he provides. I mean, he's maybe the fastest player, top 5 fastest players in all of baseball, has one of the best arms in all of baseball, one of the best defensive center fielders, outfielders in all of baseball, and has extremely easy power. This is a guy that, 6'2", 175, 180, extremely athletic and mobile. Yeah. And yet you look at his exit velocity numbers and it's like 81st, 82nd percentile. So if he can put it all together and not strike out as much and just be a little bit smarter about his gameplay, I don't want to say the sky is the limit, but he has the tools to be, he's got like Greg Jones-esque tools, but Siri's actually a major leaguer.
And, I was talking about this when he stole home on Twitter. I said, what about, right now he has a career 278 on base percentage. So I think I was talking to this with, I think it was R Hill on Twitter. Shout out to him. I think, there's no way that I would put him right now as a leadoff spot, but if he gets that 278 career on base to like a 320, 325, I'm sold. You lead off, do your thing. I would so sign up for that, because then he would get that play discipline, and then he would just be wrecking havoc on the bases. But right now, I would keep him as a second leadoff guy in the ninth hole.
Yeah. Electric player, Jose Siri is and can be. And I do want to put these out there. Max exit velocity last season, 81st percentile. Outfielder jump, 95th percentile. Arm strike, 95th percentile. Sprint speed, 100th percentile. Outs above average, 99th percentile. So, and the Rays, I mean, there must be something internally brewing in terms of what they think about Siri, because they've already come up and developed a merchandise line in the sense of the El Rayo nickname. So they're going to have merchandise dedicated to him. So I think that means and counts for something as well. So, and I do want to mention this. We did put it out. Just want to give some listener takes on this. Who could be the biggest surprise for the Rays? We have one person saying Luke Raley. Ty McCann says the increase in attendance. A couple people say Josh Lowe, Taylor Walls, Wander, Curtis Mead. So it really goes all over as far as that goes. Now, moving on from that, so biggest surprise, what about biggest disappointment for the Rays in 2023? Who will that be?
This one is the most difficult one, because you never want to trash on any of these guys, especially without a pitch being thrown in the season. So this one really sucks, but you got to talk about it. Biggest disappointment, if I had to pick one, I would say Vidal Brujan. I think his stock is pretty low right now. And if you are one of those people that thinks spring training stats matter, okay, I'll give it to you. In 31 at-bats, he's hitting 129 with a 431 OPS. So anemic is not the right word. It's the next thing after anemic. That's what his numbers look like. So that would be mine. And I hate it because he's such a good kid. Like, I've talked to him in spring trainings past. He is a very nice young man. I wish him nothing but the best, but it just seems like there's something not clicking with MLB type pitching that he's facing. He's done everything he can do in the minors, especially in AAA. But in the MLB level, I'm not giving up on him, because I don't think he has enough at bats in the major leagues yet. But if I had to pick one guy, I'd go with Vidal, unfortunately.
So Vidal has an 80 grade personality. Is that what you're saying?
I would go 100, baby. I would go 20 above the max. Yes, 100. But unfortunately, that's not what gets you hits in the show. Yeah.
Well, so would you say his scouting grade of personality is higher than that of Daniel Robertson in your experience?
The longtime listeners get that joke, and I appreciate that. Yes.
Let's just say that D-Rob is or wasn't as gregarious and open with Ulises and his family, and probably others.
My mother, to be specific. Mother, to be specific, but I'll leave it at that.
All right. My biggest disappointment, I'm going to go out and say it, Josh Lowe. Not to say that he won't put together a somewhat decent season, but I think there is a lot of pressure on him from the organization and from the fan base of, hey, you're our left-handed bat savior. You're why we didn't go out and get a Michael Brantley or a Brandon Belt or a Jose Abreu, etc. And I just feel like there's still some growing pains there. And Josh Lowe, I mean, is he not a guy that's used to playing every day? He can't hit lefties. So I feel like being platooned and not getting those regular reps, or as regular reps as you should or would expect to get, could maybe hamper him a little bit. And I don't know how much this matters or not, but maybe there's a little bit of expectations of trying to exceed or live up to what your brother has done and is presently doing in the majors. I just think, let me, I guess, frame it this way. I will say that by the end of the year, Luke Raley will have better numbers than Josh Lowe.
Wow. Okay. That's, I mean,
So.
again, you have to pick somebody, right? You can't just be like, they are all going to have great seasons.
Yeah.
Although, obviously there's people on Twitter that think that way, that everything's just roses. No,
Right.
This is real life and touch grass. But bad things happen, injuries happen. So not everybody can have a fantastic season. I hope that we're both wrong. I really, really hope that Josh Lowe just kills it. And I hope that Vidal Brujan, takes care of whatever is ailing him at the MLB level and destroys it. But, just to be devil's advocate, at least Josh Lowe, if he does get that roster spot, then he would be facing the larger platoon. Being a lefty, he would be facing righties or a more righty pitcher. So maybe that could help him. But, let's hope for good things.
Yes. Finally, do the Rays win this series against the Tigers?
I'm going to go with a 3-letter word, and that'll be YES. Yes.
Do they sweep?
I'm not doing the sweep or not sweep in 2023. That has given us way too bad juju. Yeah. I'm just going, they're going to win the series right now.
Just win series, baby. That's all that's important at the end of the day.
That's right, baby.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. Be sure you make your second listen the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.